If you've been watching football for the past few years, you've probably heard the term plastic fan being used more than once. While we don't have an official definition for what a plastic fan is, Urban Dictionary defines a plastic fan as a phrase that has been coined over the last 15 years to describe people who follow a team without any real affinity to the club in question. And then their example at the bottom is Matthew Bentley is a plastic fan because he supports Chelsea even though he's never been to a Chelsea home game. As football and internet culture has become increasingly intertwined, the debate on what actually constitutes a plastic fan has raged on. People have a million different ideas and a million different definitions of what makes you an authentic or plastic fan. And my video is not to stoke that fire at all, but to throw petrol on it, because I can't help myself. While in research for this video, I found this article from a website called The Lower Block, and it made me angry. Like, irrationally angry. And while this video was originally going to be called The Paradox of Plastic Fans, reading that Lower Block article made me realise this was going to be a defence piece. So here we are, in defence of plastic fans. At the end of the first paragraph in this article, it says, "Here at the Lower Block, we firmly stand against plastic football fans or anyone jumping on the football bandwagon for commercial gain." And the more I read that, the more it just felt mean. I don't think it's any secret to anyone that as the years have gone by, especially in the Premier League, atmospheres have definitely gotten worse, or at least not at the grand scheme of what they used to be in the early 2000s and 90s. That dampening of atmosphere is where the term plastic fan originated from. It's why we have it today, and it's why it's used so vitriolically to describe anyone who doesn't fit into a standard set of predisposed rules as to how you should be a football fan. An extremely common scapegoat nowadays for that lack of atmosphere is the increase in tourist fans. Fans who have travelled tens, hundreds, if not thousands of miles to see their football team play, even if it's only for 1 or 2 games. It's not shocking to learn that the Big Six are primarily the most accused of catering to tourist fans. And you've probably seen endless statistics about how many Liverpool or Chelsea or Manchester United fans actually have a local postcode or live within 7 miles of the stadium. The funny thing is, on the surface, it doesn't seem like an awful argument. The bigger clubs obviously have wider fan bases, spread over the country, spread over the world. Not every person in that stadium is going to be local. It then makes it really easy to target them, because if the majority of fans weren't raised with the stadium round the corner, then you can argue that they weren't raised in the culture of the football club. Arguably the two biggest teams in the country, Liverpool and Manchester United, statistically have the lowest local fan bases. Only around 40% of each of their fan bases actually live locally. You'd think by extension that people would think that atmospheres are the worst. However, if you actually look at statistics, voted by other Premier League fans, Liverpool and Manchester United are both in the top 3 for atmosphere. And this was a recent poll. This is not something from 15, 20 years ago. So when you look at the actual statistics, the argument against tourist fans and non-local fans actually starts to crumble, because Liverpool and Manchester United both have the lowest local fan bases, less than half, yet their atmospheres are still within the top 3. How could that work if tourists are the issue? While I was researching this video again, I went across Reddit. And I found this really amazing comment from an Arsenal fan, and I thought I should read it out to you, because I feel like it's really relevant and it captures a lot of how I feel about the tourist fan argument really well. "Speaking for Arsenal as a gooner since the 90s, because a lot of people spout bullshit about the ballot/red members. Too long didn't read. If the atmosphere is shit, it's the season ticket holders' fault, and it's on them to build the atmosphere since they make up 75% of attendees. On average, there are 6,600 ballot tickets per match for a stadium capacity of 62,000, 10.5% of tickets. The average number of tickets bought by the ticket exchange is 4,400. Ballot plus ticket exchange therefore equals 11,000 seats out of 62,000, just 17.7%. 6,600 or 11,000 day trippers who are paid members and long-standing fans like me aren't going to make 45,000 season ticket fans mute. 45,000 people chanting should still be plenty loud." It's not a perfect argument, but it's definitely very sound. When you consider how much of several stadiums are made up of season ticket holders, why does some tourist fans suddenly just seem to make them mute? That actually leads me on nicely to my next point, which is that even if local fans wanted to go, they can't. They're being priced out. If you remember in the beginning when I read out the Urban Dictionary definition of a plastic fan, you would have seen that it included people who have never been to a home game. But what if you can't afford to go to a home game? This is a graphic of ticket prices in the Premier League, both individual tickets and season tickets. It ranges from the cheapest to the most expensive. But even if you average out the cheapest tickets in the Premier League, individual tickets still run you £39.38 to the nearest penny. And if you work out the average for the cheapest season ticket, it's still over £500. Just looking at the UK, we are in a cost of living crisis. We have been for years, and some data is even suggesting that almost half the population are living paycheck to paycheck. Can you really blame people for not wanting to fork out almost 40 quid, probably more, for a ticket when they're struggling to put food on the table? Even if you can afford to go to 1, 2, 3, even 4 games a season, there's an increasing expectations for authentic fans to be at least every single home game. But if you take that cheapest average price and times it by 19 for what we assume would be 19 home games out of 38 game weeks, you're still looking at nearly £750. That's without even adding to the point to the crowd that think that the only true fans are season ticket holders. Some waitlists for season tickets are decades long, and Liverpool won't even let you apply for one. Their waitlist hasn't been open since 2011, so anyone under the age of 14 hasn't even had a chance to become the authentic fan by having a piece of paper saying that they have a season ticket. So is it really fair to call people plastic fans just for not having a piece of paper that says that they are allowed to enter for any home game? My final and probably least talked about point as to why I hate the term plastic fan and why I feel the need to come to defense of people that are called plastic fans is because when calling people a plastic fan, a lot of people don't check their internal biases. And what I mean by that is, statistically, it's far more likely that people consider women plastic fans than men. This is a phenomenon that has studies and evidence to back it. It's not only been proven that women feel more self conscious of their role at games, but also that some football fans only see women that attend games as an extension of their male counterparts, whether that be their fathers, brothers, or partners. In the Premier League, it is very easy to see male fans as the default, considering that female fans are so largely outnumbered. This therefore instills inherent biases in some people where they feel it's therefore okay to label a woman a plastic fan because she is not the default fan of the Premier League. And while I could go on and on about the millions of criteria and the millions of excuses that people give as to why they are better fans than others, there's no point just making a video on what plastic fans are, because there are millions of those already. The real question we need to answer is, why does the term plastic fan even exist at all? I don't mean from an origin level, we know where it comes from. I'm talking from a psychological level. Something that prompted me to make this video in the first place was me finding this study. It was from Portugal in 2017, where they essentially studied how football fans reacted to clips of their team winning, other teams losing, and they studied it on a psychological level. They studied how brain activity changed in response to different footballing situations. I'll leave a link to it in the description because it is a fascinating study. But how does that relate to being a plastic fan? Well, one fascinating thing they found out in the study was that sometimes watching football clips can elicit the same reaction in your brain as maternal or romantic love. When you look at that, it therefore becomes really easy to theorize why people are so defensive over their fanhood. They don't see their club as a club, they see them as a child. Football has been facing many issues for many years now, and the so called downfall of traditional football culture can therefore be seen like a child who has become a teenager and is now struggling with the world. The parents may blame their phone because it's easier to blame something small. It's just like football fans. It's easy to blame the women or the tourists or the people who don't go to every home match because it's easy to blame the little guy rather than discussing what actually is making everything worse. When you look at it from a psychological perspective, you can see the point of this video wasn't me shaming people who have called people plastic fans in the past. If you see football like your child, then you don't want your child to be mistreated. And it's easy to blame someone for mistreatment when they're not treating it the same way that you would. At the end of the day, we will never have a definitive answer as to why football is changing the way it is. People will argue and debate until kingdom come. But all I ask is if you take anything away from this video, The next time you feel the compulsion to call someone else a plastic fan, I just want you to think, why? Thank you very much for watching.